What's up, everybody, and welcome to Python 101. Today, we're going to be covering data types and variables. So if you're a beginner, this is the perfect place to start. Everything will be simple, straight to the point, and easy. I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. What are variables? Variables are used to store data that can be referenced or manipulated. So pretty much, it's just assigning a value to a name. So that could look something like this. Name equals Chris. All right. And so that's just saying I'm assigning the value of Chris to a variable called name. If you want to see what that looks like, just type print, and then you can reference the variable known as name. When you run it, you should get Chris back in your console. So that's just what variables do. And then another cool thing about variables is you can reassign them as well. So if I want to change my name from Chris to John, I could just type name equals John, and then I print name again. And then now name is referencing John. So we're just changing that value assigned to the variable. And then another cool thing is you can also change the data types of a variable. So we know name is a string right now for John. So let's say name equals 5. And so if we said print name now equals 5. All right. And so it's pretty simple. Variables are your baseline for everything. And that's pretty much all you need to know about variables for now. Let's keep moving. Next up, let's talk about integers. What are integers? Integers are simply put your whole numbers. So when I say this, you'll think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, and this also includes 0. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to reuse what we just learned with variable reassignment, and we're going to create a variable called nums equals 1, and then we're going to print, and we're going to use a built-in right here that's called type. So you'll do type parenthesis nums, and then comma nums. Okay. And so what this is going to do, it is going to print the type of the variable nums, which is going to be 1, which is an integer. And then it's also going to print the value assigned to it, which is the 1. So the comma right here is just splitting those two things up. So you can think the left side is going to print the type and the right side is going to print the value. And so when we print it, you'll see class int, short for integer, and a value of 1. And so now we're going to reassign it. So nums equals -1. We're just going to copy line 3 and paste it right under it. And then we're going to do nums equals 0. Paste that again. And as you can see, 1, -1, and 0 are all counted as integers. So now that you know what an integer is, let's talk about if you wanted to add a decimal point. Floats are going to be your numbers that include decimal points. So let's think about 2.25, 3.5, 4.5, and also your negative numbers. So -2.5, -3.5, you know? And so let's see what that looks like. Nums equals 2.25. So we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna use that built-in again. Type, comma, nums. And what we're gonna get back this time is a float. All right? And it's giving us a float because there's a decimal point involved right here. And so even if nums equals 2.0, when we print the same thing, we're going to get back a float because the decimal point exists. And so key thing to remember is that there's a decimal point, it's a float. And then lastly, there's another way you can write them. So if scientific notation, and I type 7E4, I said print type nums. Once again, what this is going to do, it's going to give me 70,000 with 1 decimal place at the end. And so that's the baseline for floats. So you can now say whether it's an integer or a float when you look at it and what the data type is called. Let's talk about one of my favorite data types, strings. And you'll be working with these a lot everywhere you go. In Python, strings are a sequence of characters enclosed in single or double quotes. So what that looks like is if I had a sentence and I said equal green eggs and ham, and I also had a book equaled Cat in the Hat. These are both representing strings. And so let's use our built-in once again, and we're going to use this all over the lesson today. And sentence, and let's copy and paste that again, just to get our book. And book, when you run that, str for short is string. So these are both strings, and remember, they're enclosed by single and double quotes. Now, one thing I will mention is in Python, it is a sequence of characters. So even if you have a character, and I said it's A, when I print the type of that, you're still going to get back string. It's very important to remember that. In other languages, they have a data type called char sometimes, and that represents a character. So just be careful with that. Let's move on to our last type of a Boolean. Booleans are the easiest, but one of the most used data types. And it's very simple. It's true or false. Commonly used in your conditionals or some type of functionality with toggles, you'll probably use a Boolean. And so very simple, true or false. So if I said, is the sky red equals false, is the ocean blue equals true. Once again, let's use that built-in. And we're going to print both of them out. You're going to see both of these types are bool for short, representing Boolean. Simple as that. And so now that you know the 4 primary data types, it is time for the knowledge check. Let's see if you paid attention. First up, what is the type returned from this code snippet? Pause if you need to. The type is a float. Remember, decimal point. Now, can you reassign a variable to a different data type? The answer is true. Remember, variables are just used to assign a name to a value. What data type is C considered in Python? It is a string. Remember, there's no char type. Did you get all 3 right? Either way, pat yourself on the back. You learned something new today. If you have anything else you want to learn in the future, stay tuned. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.